aggressively avoid that, actually. No, I definitely will ask him. I'd be like, so.
So this
Scale,
morning.
and this is, I was like, yeah, so like scale of 1 to 10, how frustrating was the news this morning? And he'll be like, oh, like going to the airport, I'm like, yeah, no big deal, just happens. Like,
Yeah, no, it didn't bother him. Didn't bother him a bit, I guarantee it. Sure, he's like, oh, it's just what I gotta do. That's who he is. So, anybody got any wins?
mm-mm.
Nothing on that.
Mm,
Nothing. And you close the house. That's the win.
I mean, but that's like my job.
Made money.
That's still a win.
Making money is a win, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, then technically I closed 2 houses this week.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice. Which ones?
15210 Borman.
Yeah.
They just done construction, but closed on this trip.
Oh, awesome. So buy, sell.
So,
See, these are wins.
Okay.
These are positive things.
and I went to lunch with a Spear contact yesterday. And I saw somebody else that I knew at Charleston, so I was like, "We should get coffee." So
And how did the Spear contact conversation go?
it's a regular that turned friend from the Onion.
Okay.
That is now, yeah, we're friends, and you know, him and Nick will go golf, and let me try to go golf with his lady friend, and
Nice.
so it's good.
Nothing wrong with that. And where did this conversation start? Is this something that's been going on for a while, or did you like reach out to them because of kind of what we're talking about in here?
Yeah, kind of what we're talking about in here, just he just recently got a new job as well, and he
Okay.
was doing 10 weeks of training, a lot of which included role play. So when he would come back from being out of town, he would talk about it, and of course, this is something that we do here
Mhm.
every day, and so it's easy to relate about the awkwardness of it in the beginning and all of that. And so I had reached out to him a couple of days ago just to see if he was back in town, how the new job was going, and throughout going to lunch. And so he's like, "Yeah, let's go to Charleston's." So
Perfect. Nice.
caught up about everything.
I love that. But we talked about you switching your schedule up. And since there's nobody in here and nobody on the thing, we might as well just talk to you. So we talked about you switching your schedule up. Is that working at all?
Yeah, so with the time of day that I've had the closing final walkthroughs, it kind of had to be pushed back to a little bit later in the day
Yeah.
instead of right after morning role plays. But yeah, it's been going good, and I have been just kind of reaching out to those people that I know will respond first, and then see like, hey, do you want to go coffee, lunch, or dinner?
Mhm.
I followed up with some leads that I also have, like I have a lead over in Ponca Hills, and Jack's message in the group chat about how much damage they got prompted me to reach out to him and see
Right.
how he was doing, and not so well, unfortunately. It sounds like they lost their horse barn roof. But
Oh.
yeah, I feel like it's going good. I'm excited for I'm excited
Little bit.
for when we have a normal week and I can just keep implementing.
Well, next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be normal-ish.
Yes.
Thursday, Friday are screwed.
Now I'm out of town. I need to go to Tahoe next Saturday
Oh,
for a week. So,
nice.
but
So 2 weeks from now, you'll get back and it'll be normal.
still, I can also follow up with people while I'm.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care. I'll text people
Yeah, there's been no point I've ever gone on vacation like ever
and not.
where I don't do a ridiculous amount of work.
Yes.
Can I help you? You look confused.
You're not usually the person standing up there.
That's true. Byron is on his way to the airport.
Where's he going?
Well,
He's not going anywhere. He's going to the airport. And he's gonna turn around and come back here. Taylor, on the other hand, is going somewhere. Didn't ask. Didn't ask where. But I love that you're starting to do the sphere thing, and it's those types of things are the things that make this like really easy. Out of all the different stuff that we do, the cold calling and for sale by owners and talking to this person, talking to that person, in my personal opinion, the easiest thing to do is this sphere calling stuff. Because if you know how to do it where you don't get on the phone and sound like super salesy,
Mhm.
and you can just have a conversation where you're not like, hey, do you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell real estate? I mean, you don't sound like one of those guys. And you just have a conversation, find out what's going on in their life. And at some point, there's going to be something that's going to come up, whether they're asking you or something in their life is changing, or they need to make an adjustment of some kind. Like something's gonna come up where you can offer to help them. And whether it's in real estate or something around real estate, like there's gonna be a place where you can offer to help them. And when you offer to help other people, they automatically have a little thing in the back of their brain that goes off that says, well, they're helping me, I should help them. And that just makes that whole conversation about referrals and everything else so much easier than just like completely cold calling Joe Schmo down the street.
Mhm.
And I don't think enough people use the sphere, especially new agents. Like new agents really hate doing the sphere thing because they're like, oh, I'm not going to call my mom's friend. I'm not going to call my dad's friend, or I'm not going to call this guy because, you know, I don't want him to think of me as a salesman. Like, so don't call him like a salesman.
Mhm.
Like I guarantee you, if you called one of your friends from high school's parents and said, hey, Carol, I haven't talked to you in forever. Your name popped in my head, and I just wanted to call and see how you were. What's going on? How's life? Talk to them for a little bit. They're going to ask you what you're doing. But if you don't immediately go into like, you know, do you want to sell your house? Do you have any friends that want to buy a house? If you don't go to that route and you just go into how are you, how's your life, all of that, the rest will come up at some point. But making those phone calls to random people like that maybe made a big difference to you when you were in high school or middle school or whatever, I promise you those phone calls are very, very, very well received. Like I called one of my brother's best friend's parents randomly because I drove past their house. And I called and I was like, hey, Pam, how are you? She's like, Eric Carrer, I haven't talked to you in forever. I was like, well, how's life? How's things? How's the family? I was just driving by your house because I'm over here selling a house right now. And it just made me think of you. So I figured I would call and see how you were. We had a great 15-minute conversation. There was no awkwardness. There was no point where she felt like I was trying to sell her anything because I wasn't. That wasn't my point. I'm just building that relationship back up so that if something does come up, I have the ability to make sure that I'm the person that she thinks of when it comes to real estate. So too many people get into those conversations and think that they're going to be really awkward. But then also too many people get into those conversations and think that they have to have something come out of it. And like, you know, that there's so many people that you talked to 2 years ago that are coming to fruition now. Or you talked to them, you know, 6 months ago that are coming to fruition now. You don't have to get on the phone and get off the phone and be like, oh, got a listing appointment. Like that's not the reality of what we do at all. You have to build those relationships up. And there's so many people that you can call it. Like I guarantee you, if you spent the next 2 months going through your entire life and trying to contact every single person who had any effect in your life whatsoever, you wouldn't have enough time. Guarantee it. But that's where you're going to get the best, like the best reaction from people is the one people that already know you, like you, and trust you. So if you don't go into it like, you know, super salesman, and you go into it with the thought process of like, I want to find out how they are. Like I'm going to go to lunch with a friend of mine that I haven't talked to in probably 15 years. His mom passed away. I found out about it. I went to the funeral. And he's like, oh my God. Like, and he, you know, was like, hey, can we connect again? Sure. Your mom was a big part of my life when I was in elementary school. So sure, why not? And so we're gonna go to lunch. Like
Nice.
you can just kind of have conversations with anybody. And the best part about it is if you go into those conversations without the I need to get something out of this, I guarantee you're just going to be a happier person.
Well, I think it comes across as more genuine
Oh yeah.
too. I think what my biggest struggle was with this fear is that I was too worried about the words. And like, I think about the conversations that I had very simply at the bar.
Right.
Which always start with, hey, XYZ, it's so nice to see you. How are you doing? What's going on? Tell me about everything. And I have those conversations so easily at the bar, or then when I feel like I get out of that environment and I'm putting it more towards like, this is a real estate focused conversation. It's almost like I'm too worried about what's on the script than I am like paying attention to what they're saying. And so while I still definitely review it and look over it and try to follow the questions in the succession that they go, trying to, like, I wasn't going like in order of the script. I don't,
Right.
you know, does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
I feel like I
Well-
was putting too much pressure on the script work itself.
It's not up there anymore.
But like, it doesn't go in order, like,
Right.
we'll go back and,
The whole point in us doing this every day and having you go through the scripts every single day is so that you you memorize what's on there and you internalize what's on there. And so that when you are in like a real life situation, like you're not gonna have that piece of paper when you're driving down the road and they call you back.
Mhm.
You're not gonna have that piece of paper when you run into them at the grocery store. And you're not gonna like literally be like, oh, hold up. And break out the paper and go, hi, and start going through it. Like, that's not gonna happen. But you need to know what those questions are. You need to have those in your head. So when the opportunity pops up for you to use them, you use them. But if you can do it that way, those conversations can be extremely organic and you can have a really good conversation. But then know when you have certain things that trigger certain questions, you can pull those questions out of the back of your mind and use them. You know, same thing when you're doing like a buyer presentation. Like, you're not gonna sit there with a client in front of you and hold the paper up and read off of it, because you're gonna look like an idiot. You're gonna look like you don't know what you're doing and somebody else is telling you what to say. But when you go through it enough times and you like say those words enough times, all of a sudden, when somebody asks you a question, you're gonna be like, oh, I remember when I was in role play, I had that question thrown at me and this is what I said. And then after I said that, I talked to the rest of the group and I tweaked it to be this. So this is what I should say. Right? So that's the reason you have these conversations anyways, is to get through these conversations that are organic and still have the right things in the back of your head to be able to say. Hi, Mark. How are you doing? How you doing? I'm just hanging out. Byron's on his way to the airport, so.
Where did Byron go?
Byron's not going anywhere.
You see,
Byron's going to the airport, drop off his girlfriend, and then turn around and come back here.
That makes sense.
Because today, we are going over the Slight Edge at 1 o'clock. It's gonna be good. Yeah,
Very good.
did you guys read the book?
Yes,
Jim?
yes.
I have a whole laundry list of books that my book list that I wanted to read, some of which are on your guys's, but I got it and I do want to. And I actually watched the Chris Voss in a masterclass
Mhm.
from Masterclass themselves.
Mhm.
So I actually watched that. But you guys read it in the book form. I'm assuming they were very similar
Oh, yeah,
because it was talking about the negotiation process that he does. So
that book is crazy.
Book
I
is-
do want to read it though.
It's so good.
it's just like specific, but with the Slight Edge, it's like, this is the second time that I've read it, and it's just so interesting to see what I take out of it now, like what's applicable to me for where I'm at with my personal development now and how I can see the Slight Edge actually coming into play. Because I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, I read this a year ago, like a year and a month ago, and at that time, like I was in a completely just different situation, and now reading it again and thinking back to how I had thought, it's so interesting to just see that it actually like works. It's like I can now see the Slight Edge, but before I would have just been like, oh, I'm just another year older. I wouldn't have been able to see like the micro things that really
Contribute to like their growth essentially.
yeah. And it kind of talks about how like when you don't feel like you're like seeing growth, right? So in the first chapter of the book, and I'm not going to get into it too much because he will today, and I hope he does with specifically this story, but he talks about it's a story of these two frogs, right? They both jump into like cream, like a vat of cream, and they're loving it and it tastes so good, and they're like, oh, this is so great. And then they realize we can't get out. And so they keep swimming, keep swimming, keep swimming. One of the frogs gives up, and the other guy just keeps, like the other frog keeps swimming until he like finally he's like, I'm seeing no, like there's no way. He just like keeps hoping that it's finally gonna happen. And then he gets exhausted and like has to give up. And he turned it into butter. And so he can get out, even though that entire time he didn't feel like he was making growth.
They turned his
Is that a frog or a mouse?
It was a frog.
No, I've heard it said with a mouse.
The
milk into butter.
Yeah.
Oh, lie.
But that's, I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about right now, is like these conversations that you have with people that are in your sphere, like you just keep on having it. And I mean, like I said, I don't know about you, but like, I actually really enjoy most of them. Especially when you're like pulling people out from like your past that you haven't talked to in forever. I mean, it's one thing when you talk to the guy that you talked to last month, but, or you saw just a few weeks ago, but like I said, calling up my friend's mom that I haven't talked to in God knows how long. I had to call my mom to get her number.
Mhm.
And then randomly called her and was just like, hey, how are you? I just drove past your house. How's things? We had a great conversation. And I don't know if she'll ever send me a client or not. But as long as I have 500 of those conversations, there's a 99% chance that one of them will. I mean, a lot of times I've had those conversations where I've gotten on the phone with somebody and started into a thing and they're like, actually, my son's looking for something, or my brother's looking for something. Like immediately in that conversation, I didn't even ask. Like, oh yeah, I forgot you're in real estate, aren't you? Like, yeah. Hey, did you know that Tom's looking for something? No, I didn't. Well, shoot me Tom's number. I'll give him a call. Hey, I talked to your mom and she said you were looking for a house. Have you guys started the process yet? And then boom, next thing you know, apply. And that was actually a real example because Tom was one of my clients. But yeah, I mean, you never know the person that you're going to call, if it's going to be something that's going to be now or if it's going to be 2 years from now. But as long as you continually make those phone calls and check in with people, everybody wants to hear from you. As long as you're nice and you don't want anything from them, everybody wants to hear from you. People love telling other people how their life is going. And whether it's good or bad. I don't know. Have you guys gotten them smoked on a phone call yet?
Yes.
Is that where people just go on and on and on?
Yeah.
No, it happens in real life. My neighbor and then my second cousin just trapped me 2 days ago talking about.
Verbally hostage.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes.
Yep.
And I don't know, I said to Nick, I don't know what it is about like our kids, but our neighbor will like, yeah, we're planning on doing this and this and this to our yard and we're gonna do this over here. And like, I don't know if that's just what neighbors talk about, but like, I feel like he's like, it's like an unspoken like yard
Yeah,
competition.
like you need to know what I'm going to do to make mine better than yours.
Basically.
Yeah.
And then I got told about how much my second cousin's spending on our 3 kids' college education.
Mhm.
And I'm like, didn't ask. Don't really care, not in a mean way, but like I that's great, but
I hadn't hit my contact goals and I was at my house and my wife was getting my son ready to go on a walk. My neighbor was outside. Guy that lives like across the 2 houses down. Really nice old guy. And we've had a couple conversations and he was outside and I was like, oh, hey, how's life? How's things going? Turns around, he's like, son-in-law died in a car accident last week. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And finally my wife comes outside and she's like, I can't right now. I got hit for like
You're in a therapy
45
session.
minutes. Like I just walked over to say, hey, how are you? And I acted like I was going to the mailbox, like just to have a conversation. And I got hit with some heavy stuff. But I mean, he felt better at the end of it. Am I going to get something out of it? Probably not. Or maybe I am. I don't know. But I still had a conversation. He still felt better by the end of it. And that's what he needed. And as long as you go into every single conversation with that mentality, like not a what am I going to get out of this conversation by the end? Just I'm going to have a great conversation. And then at some point, they're going to be reminded this is what I do for a living. It's really, really easy to do. And they're a lot more fun than like doing farming calls. Why?
Dude, I literally was at Walmart yesterday and I was checking out and I just asked the lady how her day was and
Mhm.
we walked away and Lauren's like, that girl just told us a lot of stuff. And I'm like, dude.
Oh yeah, there's a guy. He works at the Hy-Vee on 180th. His name is James, and James knows everything about me, and I know everything about James because every time I walk in the door, he comes and he follows me through the store. Every time.
Is that, you said 180th?
Yep.
The one that we went to?
The other one right over here.
Can confirm.
can confirm.
I think that was.
Yep, they're a really big dude.
Mhm.
Really, really big guy. Every single time I walk in, he's there. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" He just starts going.
That's different in the aspect of like, those are the people you want to talk to because you're making friends and whatever.
Yeah.
Also,
But, like-
Drew's parents.
Oh yeah.
Everything.
Not that they're that way.
Together.
Oh, yeah, they'll get you.
Not in here.
But the thing is that that's the personality that you have to have in this industry. Because what you need to realize by having these conversations and having people do that, and sometimes we forget it when we're in certain positions. Like, we forget that the reason that people do that is because they feel comfortable enough with us to do that. They feel comfortable enough with us to tell us every single thing that's happening in their life. And the reason that we're successful in the careers that we're in is because of the fact that people feel that way with us. They feel like they can be honest about, I might be getting a divorce. I might be getting engaged. I might be having a kid, or, we need to move. We can't afford it. All of those things that you don't necessarily want to tell every single person. If people are comfortable calling you and telling you that, then you're doing all the right things. Because when it comes down to it, that's what you need from your client. Negotiation is a huge piece of what we do. But the most important piece of what we do is we make people feel comfortable with us to the point where they feel like they can tell us anything. And if you can do that, I promise you, repeat business will come out of it. Because even if everything doesn't go exactly as planned and everything's not perfect and it doesn't sell in the first weekend and blah, 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 those clients will come back to you because they feel comfortable with you. And they will send their friends to you because they feel comfortable with you. It's really easy to give a referral to somebody that you actually like, know, and trust. Like, how many people do you have call you on a regular basis that are just these random agents, or these random like mortgage people or insurance agents or roofers or whatever, and they're like, hey, send me over a referral. I'd love to be the person that you send over. But they don't ever get into anything that makes you trust them.
Mhm.
They just immediately go to like, what business can you provide for me? And
Or are you gonna refer me business too? Like,
Right.
I feel like those need to be mutually beneficial, really.
oh yeah, for sure. But they always go immediately into like, what do you have for me? And I promise you, if you start making phone calls and having those conversations, you're gonna stop having people answer the phone. Like, I have people all the time that, like, especially right now, roofers. I know like 15 roofers. And I just got a message yesterday from a guy that I've never seen him do a roof. He's never done a roof for me. I just know I'm aware of the fact that that's what he does for a living. And he sent me a message and he's like, if you're supposed to be this big real estate agent, why haven't you sent me over any referrals yet?
That's why.
And I was
You
like,
legitimately said it like.
I can rip straight in text. Like, he'd said it exactly like that.
I would say, ... try again.
Right.
Like, let's try this again.
I think you have the wrong number because I know you're not talking.
Yeah, I think you're talking the wrong number right now. No, I literally, my response, I responded with haha. And then I didn't say anything. And a minute, like a few minutes later, he sent a message and he's like, I'm just messing around, man. And I was like, there we go.
Give him his own house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was, and then
Think about his actions.
I basically told him, I was like, I have roofers that I work with on a regular basis, that I know the work that they do. But if an opportunity presents itself, I could give you a shot, but just know that I'm not going to send you as the only one. Like, I've had plenty of roofs. I have one all the time. Like, I have 3 houses coming up and we're going to go meet next Monday and go through all of them to see if there's anything that we need to get done, because they were all in the line these last few days. And
I don't think you're gonna call him.
yeah, no, I'm not calling that guy. And the reason I'm not calling that guy is because he basically called me and said, hey, do you know anybody that wants to buy or sell real estate? And the answer is no, because you said that.
And it wasn't even, hey, do you know anybody really wanting to buy or sell real estate? It was more like, do you know how to help people? Like, it was almost like an insult to you, like.
Right. Yeah.
So-
Yeah, the approach, I'm sure he thought it was just like a funny, like, guys ribbing guys kind of thing. But I read it and I looked at it and I could go, this is being recorded and I'm just gonna be on whatever. I literally looked at it and I go, the fuck? And I turned it around, my wife looked at it and she goes, who's that? And I go, some roofer that suddenly wants me to send him business for no reason. And she goes, so you're not gonna do that, are you? I go, well, absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes sarcasm doesn't deliver well in the.
Like, yeah, sarcasm via text is a terrible idea. I actually offended one of my friends doing that. You know, Matt Tatro, or sorry, not Matt Tippery.
Yes,
He's engaged.
okay,
Him and Sarah are getting married, I think at the end of this year. Then they put their engagement pictures out. And I said, you have a fantastic photographer because you don't look terrible. And I meant it to be mean, but then after a few minutes of him not responding, I was like, I'm just giving you shit, buddy. Like, you guys look good. That was the meanest way I could say you look great. He's like, okay, that's better. But well, I don't have a whole lot more for you. You guys have anything that you're working on right now that you I mean, we could go through it, but yeah, why don't you guys just sit down and go through it for like about 8 minutes? Let's work on let's have the you're calling somebody who was a very big portion of your life a long time ago and you want to catch up. What's the best way to do that and also get into real estate at some point? There's 2 of you in the room, so I'm talking to 2 of you.
I feel like that's maybe me and you.
Yeah, that was kind of aimed at.
Okay, so I have a sheet. What if we're fighting? What if we're fighting?
It's time to put him into the fight.
Somebody's got to go.
Drops the beef.
Do you hate this one? Okay, yeah, because then you're like.
Yeah, this is more.
Hey, Mark, it's Amanda. I just saw, can I make some dinner break? I just saw you got engaged. That's so exciting.
Yeah,
Catch me up.
yeah, we did get engaged. It was about time. And you know what? It was my fiance, probably a little late. Just waited a little long, but
But she said yes.
she did, which is that's great.
Most important part.
So what we did.
That's weird. Tell me more.
Yeah, I got a new job, just started a new job doing train dispatching at Union Pacific. So weird hours, but paid great. Completely new, anything I've done before, so excited for that.
Very nice. And up in the hours. That's part.
So on call 24/7. Normally 8 to 4. And then like it's usually organized, yeah, so it's just
You're just.
was popping in cans, never consistent.
I feel like that will, might wear on you.
A little bit, we'll see, hope not.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
And what does your fiance do?
She
Sorry.
no longer works anymore. She's with a new job, right? So she doesn't shift work. See, now we got like gardening and plants.
That's amazing. Good for her.
She loves it.
I'm kind of jealous.
Absolutely, me too. Especially overnight, yeah.
Maybe you just say. Right, you don't say that, her name. Okay, so. No, it's just,
Having a conversation.
when are you guys planning on it?
Yeah, we'll make sure that's perfect.
Set anything in for that?
That's gross.
Yes, she was.
I'm gonna go out of this. I have to go to.
Probably 5.
And she put 17 messages I need to buy, and then
So maybe like mid to early October.
Yes.
grab it, and then I'll just head over.
Next year, because everything's booked up. this
Yeah, I can give you time to play
year.
it out.
Absolutely.
For contract.
Exactly.
And how's the family? I know.
Yes, absolutely.
How's your family? How's your siblings?
And that was
Yeah, all 7.
Probably keeps count.
Prep do you need to do for it, Zero?
I always remember you guys having a big family.
Myself, because I was.
That's hard to forget, especially.
Then I was all set and ready to go yesterday.
So, would you have time to film?
Yeah, yeah. no
Yes,
kidding.
but you don't want to.
The youngest, I think is my youngest brother is, I think it's this last year high school, junior, or senior, one of
I
the.
mean, it would be like a 10-minute thing.
Which is crazy.
When we film, we need to have
Yeah.
like,
Everyone else.
Have it on film.
we need to have like 30 minutes.
think so, so I should know more about their lives, but.
Well, it's also kind of hard to keep everybody straight. I feel
Or just because you and I like have a
You're
tendency
seven
to
siblings and you
go back and
have
forth about what
your
exactly
job
we're gonna say, and how
and
we're
you
gonna
are
say it.
recently.
I know you have it all prepped,
Yeah.
obviously, but it's not
The same as it
Yes,
says.
100%.
ever.
Um,
But we always usually end up with pretty decent shit.
Where were you before you came?
Yeah, you had one that.
I really like Lucky Chess for configuration with Waldecker through the state,
I don't remember what that one was about.
which was
The number one reason realtors lose offers.
it was good. I tell everybody all the time, I wish I loved that job. The benefits great, it was great.
When I go back.
Just
Try
wasn't
this video.
mentally satisfied.
Depends
Not
on
at all.
how many interest rates are strong. Knowledgeable.
And then like I would have,
This,
would have turned out during last year,
let's
or the
see.
year before. And pretty much knocked out. The rest of that, if I was staying in that position,
Most
so the contract wage, the raises every year.
The number one double parents are losing offers, 1.7.
At 24
Okay,
years old.
this isn't the last
I'll
90
be in
days.
that position. For the kind
Forever.
of stuff until
All
like.
time,
either
that's
leave
not
that
it.
or
Got it.
retire,
Yeah.
I'll go back.
And yeah, and then I'll say the life of being this job for 30 years. Or whatever,
What about this?
and have 30 years of experience in this job, and then the next 24-year-old can come and have his 5 years of experience and get paid the same. I'm like, well.
Right.
Yeah, which seems a little selfish, because I'm 24, I want that money, but I don't know. So yeah, I was like, I don't wanna cap out at 24, go try something else. So we'll see if this train stuff.
Pans out.
It would be,
So after you guys get married next fall, are you guys planning on staying
Yeah.
in Omaha?
The number
or
one
is that
reason
your
it's Christmas
first
offers.
too?
Yeah.
Post.
She has family here and
Fine.
all my family's here, so we're definitely staying here.
Got it.
And this is reach,
Yeah.
place.
Like different, far away from my family here, because I need to have people to talk to.
Probably there's more plays.
See around, I need to.
Just
go
do it.
out, see one. I
Just put it on
options.
plays.
Yes, especially since you have such a.
Put it on your reach.
If
That's
that's.
100.
Can you see this?
Sister, she lives like right across the
Yeah.
table from us and
Stupid.
Diamond Head in my neighborhood, so if we ever wanna go visit them and.
Let's see, how we can share this too.
We can do that,
Garrett.
just go home.
Easy.
I visit my parents like once every other week. At least.
Non-followers, 80%.
So.
Mhm.
We're definitely. Yeah,
Which is
Pretty
nice.
good.
Well, and if it's been home based for
Followers
so long,
16.
then.
This will be mostly followers.
won't be anything
Well,
else.
that's what I'm sure.
Every
That's still
day.
pretty good.
yeah.
1200 played.
Maybe many
732
opportunities in terms of
plays.
being in Columbus, maybe not, I don't know.
That's a different character.
Let
So it's definitely working.
alone visit.
It's crazy that like most of our news are non-followers.
Uh,
Yeah, but you get to like some of the less viewed stuff. That's like happening. Like if I went to the video with Jack, I guarantee you there's underperforming.
So real estate, like the custom home.
Well, it's not underperforming. It's just not as good as.
Custom that out in
One with
Upward, and
yeah,
we've got
so
three
one with
jobs
that.
that just. kind of
6:15.
occupies a lot of our time. We do not have. a large family like you do, no 7 siblings,
But you
but-
can date someone.
okay. But yeah.
Was there anybody on that?
Trying to make everybody
Reach
feel better
96
houses, I
accounts.
guess.
Yeah.
But nothing.
But this is crushing on Facebook.
It does, he's kind of
So
a jack of all trades, he also works for the Cresters filter. Does a lot of
Facebook.
handyman stuff, I don't even want to say that, I feel like. I'm thinking of it.
So our video does so well.
I loved Amanda's comment about a neck beard.
I love to spend time with family and all the-
I hate that we have an auto response thing on there.
Too crazy in my life, but.
It's very inauthentic.
Well.
I don't know how.
I would even want.
Didn't set it up, I have no idea how.
It's not what I'm saying,
But
because it's just kind of.
that can be on the agenda for a different day.
But after
I'll
that.
put that on the board.
So-
Look into how the hell
So
Facebook
what we
works.
have.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
And then I think from there, this is something that I have been talking to you for a while.
But this year, didn't, when it comes to contractors,
Lots of like.
performed well.
Yeah, like how.
How's that really well being here?
Yeah. how's
691, one share, one save. Saves are actually really
You know, I
surprising to
feel like
me.
that would- this-
So that means people are actually getting better at that. But
Somebody for a while.
Or it means that somebody was pissed off about what I said.
And I told you guys, we did all of that, and you kind of. Maybe. wait a little.
it could be that.
The shares and the Get saved or one of two things.
This year should have done way better.
It'd be like
Still
that,
video.
Yeah,
I would personally agree with that.
no,
Repost
no,
it.
no, and I think
I will, I'll just give it some
in
time
other
and change the
relationships.
beginning a little bit. Cause
Are you
that's,
posting Byron saying that
this
you
is the
showed me
times
yesterday?
that I want time.
I'm not gonna post it, but I'll send it as ad.
Right.
Well, I won't, you will.
Tell me a lot
He
of-
pretty, he like,
Depending on that.
that's the fun push
relationship.
for those.
I think that's how I would-
Campaign management.
Did you guys run into any issues over there?
No, I was just saying to Mark that I think if it was somebody that I hadn't legitimately talked to for a long, long time.
Mhm.
I think that first initial conversation, I wouldn't even want to try to. Let me tell you my full pro secret for introducing us. I think I would really just use that more as like a fact finding, almost like. Really listening and catching up, and then from there. Following up with that person, maybe every couple of months.
Mhm.
Remembering what we talked about and like, in this example, Mark was planning a wedding, so I
Right.
would reach out in a couple months. How?
How'd the wedding go?
planning?
Yeah.
Are you guys running, what are your challenges that you're facing with that right now? I know it can be a lot, like, and just really focus on. Him and his life,
Oh, 100%.
and then if it works for the conversation to come up organically about. Cause he knows I do real estate, we just established that.
Mhm.
But I don't think I would want it to have like a hard or a soft close, I suppose.
Well, and that's what you have to understand about a lot of these sphere calls is that you're not necessarily going immediately into the close.
Yes,
These conversations are gonna organically go where they go. Like, for instance, I went over and talked to that guy whose son just died in a car accident. Do you think I tried to close him?
no.
Of course not.
I would hope not.
Yeah. Like, I didn't walk up to the guy afterwards and be like, did he own a house? You know, I mean, come on,
Yeah.
I'm not a terrible person. So when you're having these conversations, your goal is to do a couple different things. Your goal is to remind them that you exist. And that they know you, like you, and trust you. And to have a conversation to catch up, no matter what, if you haven't talked to them for a very long time, they're either going to say, I see you're in real estate, or what are you doing? One of the two. So you have the opportunity immediately because they're going to ask about you. Like, there's no way they're not going to, especially when you keep asking about them and keep asking about them. And you seem engaged and interested in what they are doing, they're automatically going to be like, well, what are you doing now? So that's going to come up.
Yes,
So you're gonna have the opportunity to say that. And then if they have something where, you know, hey, I know so-and-so, or I know so-and-so, then you absolutely go into, you know, this is the best way to do that. You know, you can walk them through that whole process. But again, you're not getting on the phone and saying, hey, I don't know if you knew this or not, but I'm in real estate and, you know, I'd really like to help you and your friends and your family buy a new home. Cause you sound like, you know, a brand new car. Exactly. Like, you don't want to do that. That's not your goal. Your goal is to have an authentic conversation that's going to remind them of who you are and what you do. And so, and you have to understand that you're literally sowing seeds. That's all you're doing in these conversations.
Posted.
Exactly. And then if you want to have a really big crop and you only put out 2 seeds, it's going to be really hard to have a whole field. So, well, all right. I think we're officially at 10 o'clock. So please come back today at 1 o'clock. Have Byron go over the slight edge. You'll get a lot out of it, I promise.
Even if you haven't read it.
Even if you haven't read it. Absolutely worth coming back. And we will see you next week.